Hi friends, Naji here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you have followed my channel, you know I have already created two full playlists on LangChain. One is for LangChain version 0.1 and other is for 0.3. But now LangChain has released a brand new production ready version which is actually faster, more secure and completely redesigned. And because of this architecture change, its old versions uh, it is not a backward compatible, because if you use the latest version with our old version it will break our code. So I decided to have a new playlist which include all the versions of all the latest features of LangChain v1, and I'm planning to start it with the beginners to advanced kind of a courses or other kinds of videos, and so that like even a person who does not know anything about Gen AI or LangChain will able to understand. So only requirement is that you have to have a Python knowledge and definitely a good attitude. So let's start. So let's think about why do we need a LangChain? Okay, so that is a big question that most of them are asking. Okay, so let's think about. Okay, let's think about a. Uh, so let me take my ChatGPT. Okay, so here I'm giving like add 1 plus 1 plus 3 and I'm getting 4 here. Okay, good, it's working fine. But how I will integrate this with our programming or our project? Definitely, OpenAI is providing with its own SDK. I can integrate with this and I can use very easily. But tomorrow, some new models are coming, some better models are coming. So I decide, or maybe cost-effective models are coming. Okay, so I want to switch between like different LLM models or different embedding models. How can we do that? So every time when I switch the code, I have to install their own packages, and I have to rewrite the its input and output. Maybe like entire restructuring is needed for my code. Okay, yeah, I can write a code in a such a way that it will give like minimum impact, but it has to have some impact on that. So here is where LangChain comes. LangChain is providing Actually, LangChain is providing a way to handle all the LLMs, all the embedding models, and different tools very easily. So, for example, I have a OpenAI is there, and I have a Claude is there. So, I can use same interface to communicate with OpenAI and same interface to communicate with the Claude. So if you look on that, if you look on their documentation, so if you see the integrations, so we can see that they are supporting a lot of integrations. They are supporting Hugging Face and Pinecone, Cohere, and these are the databases. Okay, so if you go up, we can see they are supporting OpenAI, Google Vertex AI, Anthropic Cloud AI, AWS, Google Gen AI, and they are also supporting the Olama, and they are supporting the Groq. Olama will help us to run the models in our local. Okay, so in a unique way, we will able to communicate with the LangChain. Okay, but that is the only purpose of. I mean, that is unique way to communicate with the LLM. Okay, so that is not only the purpose of LangChain. LangChain is more than that. LangChain is an ecosystem that we can understand in our coming videos. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code and let's understand how can we connect to OpenAI model in a very simple way. Okay. So if you look on that my project structure, I have a requirement.txt file is there, in which I have the LangChain. These packages are mentioned in the requirement.txt file. You guys can create a Python 3.12, which is the version that I am using, and you guys can run this requirement.txt file. Okay, I will be committing this into my GitHub repo. You guys can download and use it. Okay. Now the another important part is the .env file. Okay, so I will explain why we need the .env file. And in the requirement text file, we can see these are related to the LangChain. Okay, LangChain OpenAI, LangChain Chroma, LangChain Groq, and the these are the related to LangChain. And there is one is the Python hyphen .env package is also there. I will explain why that is needed. Okay, so first let's think about how can we call a OpenAI function from our LangChain using our LangChain. Okay, so after installation, so what I can do, I can just take LangChain OpenAI and import ChatOpenAI. Let's create a model. I can create a model ChatOpenAI. Okay, now let's do model.invoke. Then I can mention add 2 and 3. Execute it. Okay, the execution is progress and I'm getting the result. So it is giving me a message content which is equal to 5, right? So this is the result that is giving, and rest of the things are additional parameters that we can discuss more in our coming videos. Okay. So within 3 lines of code, I am able to get the answer. I am able to communicate with the LLM models. Okay, cool. Now the question is, OpenAI, we know that OpenAI is not the open source, right? It's a closed type of model. So how the communication happening? So to execute this, we have to have a OpenAI key is needed. Okay. So how I will get the OpenAI key? So for that, you guys can go to the platform.openai.com openai.com/API key. This can be used. I mean, go to this this website, this platform, OpenAI platform. Let's come here and give your name. I mean the project name, and maybe not project name, the key name can be given, and just click on the create, and you will have the API key will be there. Just copy this, and for the time being, let me mention that API key and paste it here. Okay, so this is my OpenAI API key, and here ensure that you have to recharge it with maybe minimum $6 to work with. Okay, yeah, so that is how this OpenAI works. I don't think they are providing any free versions anymore. Like earlier they are giving like a $5 free credit, but now they are stopped that. Okay, so coming back to the API key, we have the API key. Now the API key is here. How to connect with this code, this OpenAI with this API key? It's very simple, right? What I can do, I can just say API key and pass the API key here, then execute it, and you will get the answer. But this is actually a really bad scenario. I mean, it's not a good way of writing the code, right? Every time, like, I have to any change in the code, like I have to come here and I have to update the code, right? So that is not the good practice. Or whenever I create a model, for example, in somewhere in the project, I'm creating a sorry, let me delete this. I'm creating a chat OpenAI. Here also I need to pass the model. I mean, I have to pass the API key. That is not a good practice. So what I can do, another way is I can just put this into environment variable. So what I can do, I can say like import os dot environ. Then I can say OpenAI API key. Then what I can do, I can pass this OpenAI key here. Okay, we don't need this one, so let me remove this. Okay, so what I am doing, I am just I just put key in now in the environment variable, that is the OpenAI API key. So whenever we execute this, this will by default internally it will check that any key something like OpenAI API key is there. If it is there, it will use that. Okay, so this is somewhat a good method, but think that I have a development environment and QA environment and staging or production environments. Okay, I want to change API key with respect to these environments. Then this will not work. This method will not work because I have to come and edit the code every time. When I move from development environment to QA environment, I have to change that, right? So what is the better way of doing that? The better way of doing this is just create a .env file, then put this key into the .env file. Okay, that is why we have the .env file here. So what is the advantage of using that? So when I move from dev to QA, okay, I just need to edit the environment variable only. Okay, I don't need to edit any code, so the code is safe. Okay, so that is why we are using the .env file. And once we have the .env file, we have to load that into memory, right, while we running the code. So that is why we are using this particular package, that is the .env package. So that is why we added python.env into our project. Okay, so I believe you got some idea about this. So we are done with the OpenAI and it is working fine. And we have done, we have created a model and we just did a invoke method. Now let's think I want to use the Groq. So how I will use the Groq in LangChain? Okay, we just completed the OpenAI. Then Groq is something different to implement. Let's see on that. So let's do LangChain Groq. Let's import ChatGroq. Okay, let's have the model ChatGroq. Okay, then I can do model.invoke. I can pass add 2 and 3. So if you compare these two lines of code, the first lines of code and the second three lines of code, these are somewhat similar, right? Here we are keeping the same pattern. So that is advantage of using LangChain. So if you go to the Bedrock or if you go to like any other packages within the LangChain, we will follow the same pattern. So it is very easy to do that, but there will be some minor differences based on what we call each and every packages. Okay. So now the question is, what is a Groq? Okay, so let's understand the Groq, which is very important to understand. Okay, so let's go to the Groq website where we can see the Groq. So Groq is actually providing a platform. It is providing fast, low cost inference that does not flag anything to real. Okay, this is not the definition. Okay, so understand that Groq is a platform in which they are providing a lot of models. A lot of models are in this platform and we can use that. Okay, so it is if you consider OpenAI is only providing the OpenAI model, but if you consider Groq is providing different open source model. Okay, we just need to pay for the Groq. But one advantage with the Groq is they are actually providing some free tiers. So I can freely create this API key, then I can use that, and they have some limit. I don't know exactly what is the limit, but there is some per day limit is there. So whenever in our project also, if you want to do POC, we will be using the Groq. Okay. So the creating Groq, it is also very simple. I mean, getting an API key in Groq is very simple. You guys can go and create an account. Okay, so this is my account. Then just use your Gmail ID. Then click on create key. Give some name. Copy this. Okay, so here similar to the earlier situations, what I can do, I can add this into my environment variable. Otherwise what I can do, I can just put into os.environ. I can say Groq API. Groq API can be mentioned here and I can put it to here. Okay, then this will work. Okay, so for the time being I'm not using that because I already have the key in the environment variable. I'll be using that. Okay, now one thing is that, okay, in that OpenAI, we didn't mention any model here because by default it is taking some model by default, but here we have to specify the model. Okay, for example, let me execute this. I will show you that. So here we are getting an error. The error is the model field is required. Okay, so what I need to do, let's make it here, just put it model here. Now I need to mention some models from the Groq. For that, let's go back to the Groq. Okay, search for supported models in Groq. Here we can see they are supporting lot of models. They are supporting Llama 3.1, 8 billion, 70 billion, and Llama Guard 4 and GPT OSS, and everything they are support models. They are supporting listed here. So for the time being, I'm going to use OpenAI GPT OSS 20 billion, which is really good for our purpose. So let's add it here, mention it here, execute. Okay, so we can see the result is 5. Okay, so if you compare these two input and output, we can see that this input and output are very closely same, right? The input that we are given is same and output we are getting is the same, but only thing is that the some additional argument may vary, but overall the input and output is same. Okay, so that is the advantage of using the LangChain. So I believe we have got a very basic idea about what is LangChain, how can we implement that. So definitely in our coming videos we can discuss more about this. So that's it. Please do like and subscribe. Have a nice day. Bye bye.